I quite like the bit early in the book where you discuss obviously they're named after the Neander Valley, but the Neander Valley is named after a guy, right? So it's
Yeah.
so it's named after a person, which is, it's nice to get a valley named after you, but then accidentally he Neander
Yeah, yeah.
ends up with this species of humanity named after him, which might not be seen as the greatest compliment, but maybe it is. But it is a very interesting story.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those weird sort of serendipitous moments in the history of science, because I mean, a lot of how we know what we know about the world comes from, chance and serendipity and things like this. But in this case, it's especially satisfying because, so the Neanderthal, Tal being German for valley, was named after a composer from the 1600s called Joachim Neander. And he wrote a lot of religious music and was very celebrated. And that's kind of nice in itself. But the funny bit is the fact that his name, Neander, was a sort of a classicization in this fashion of the time to kind of change your name to sound a bit more classical. And the original name was Neumann. But both of those mean new man.
Yeah.
So the very first place that we recognized that there had been other forms of humanity on the earth is from the Valley of the New Man.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get a more perfect kind of place. I don't think that happens very often.
It's very good. And also just, obviously he doesn't know. But it's a weird thing to think that in 400 or 500 years' time you go, oh yeah, there'll be a species of man named after you, incidentally, but named after a place that's named after you.
It would have blown his mind, I'm sure.
I think I hope he'd have been really annoyed. I'm not sure how you'd feel about it, but it's interesting.